Imagine a life full of dreams, overshadowed by someone trusted but ultimately betrayed. Brandy Odom, a vibrant young woman from Brooklyn, New York, was living a challenging life, striving to find her place in the world. But her story took a horrifying turn in April 2018, when her dismembered body was discovered in Canarsie Park. This is the chilling case of Brandy Odom, a life stolen in a brutal act of violence that revealed a dark, hidden world of manipulation and betrayal. Brooklyn is more than a borough. It's a melting pot of diversity, history, and opportunity. From the artistic enclaves of Williamsburg to the bustling streets of Flatbush, life pulses through every corner. For many, Brooklyn is a beacon of hope, but for Brandy Odom, it became the stage for a nightmare. Brandy lived in Canarsie, a neighborhood marked by its hardworking residents and sense of community. But beneath its lively facade, like any urban area, there were cracks where danger could hide. Brandy was a vibrant 26-year-old woman with dreams as big as the city she lived in. Friends described her as kind-hearted and ambitious, with a love for animals and aspirations to make something meaningful of her life. But life hadn't been easy for Brandy. She had struggled with financial difficulties and often sought guidance from those she believed she could trust. Brandy had aspirations. She dreamed of becoming a chef and had taken courses to refine her culinary skills. She was hardworking, often juggling jobs to make ends meet while keeping her ultimate goal in sight. Despite her struggles, she was resilient, someone who never gave up on her dreams. But life hadn't been kind to Brandy. She faced financial struggles and a lack of stability. Seeking support, she became involved with Cory Martin, a man who presented himself as a benefactor but turned out to be a dangerous manipulator. Cory Martin, a self-proclaimed pimp, preyed on vulnerable women like Brandy. To outsiders, Cory appeared confident and charismatic, but beneath his facade was a manipulative and controlling individual. Brandy, in her quest to find stability, fell into Cory's orbit. He promised her a better life, but instead pulled her into a dangerous and exploitative world. Their relationship, marked by control and fear, would eventually turn deadly. On the morning of April 9, 2018, Canarsie Park in Brooklyn, New York, became the site of a horrifying discovery. Amid the greenery and jogging trails, a man enjoying his usual run stumbled upon something that would haunt him forever: a human torso discarded near the park's path. Initially mistaking it for something else, he realized the gravity of what he'd found and immediately contacted the authorities. When police arrived, the true horror of the scene came into focus. Scattered near the torso were other body parts, arms and legs placed separately as if they were meant to be found. The dismemberment was precise yet gruesome, a chilling sign of someone who had taken the time to hide their crime, but also wanted to send a message. Authorities quickly began working to identify the victim. Through fingerprint analysis, they confirmed the remains belonged to 26-year-old Brandy Odom. This confirmation sent shockwaves through Canarsie, a vibrant community known for its family-oriented residents and relatively peaceful streets.
Remains of a woman found in a Brooklyn park. Police have now identified the body as that of 26-year-old Brandy Odom from Canarsie. Chopper 2 is over the scene as investigators scour the area looking for clues. They believe Odom was killed elsewhere and then dumped in the park. A dog walker found her head and torso on Monday.
Brandy, with her bright personality and aspirations for a better future, had met a fate too horrifying for words. Neighbors in Canarsie Park were left shaken. Many described Brandy as a young woman full of potential, striving to overcome challenges and carve out a life for herself. The brutal nature of her death contrasted painfully with her aspirations, casting a dark shadow over the community. Forensic experts noted that Brandy's dismemberment had been done with precision, suggesting that the killer had some knowledge of anatomy or had premeditated the crime. The way her body was disposed of, spread across a public park, suggested a disturbing mix of arrogance and a desire to shock. Investigators combed the area for clues, piecing together any evidence that might point to the perpetrator. Police found DNA traces on some of the body parts, and the park's surveillance footage became a key focus. They were determined to uncover what had led to such a brutal act and whether the killer had acted alone. The discovery of Brandy's remains not only marked the beginning of a grim investigation, but also served as a wake-up call for the community. The brutality and audacity of the crime ensured that this was no ordinary case, but one that would grip the city in its quest for justice. As detectives delved into Brandy Odom's final days, a clearer picture of her last moments began to emerge. Her phone records showed she had frequent communication with Cory Martin, a man with a dark past and a troubling reputation. Surveillance footage captured them together near her apartment just days before her remains were discovered. The forensic evidence was damning. DNA analysis linked Cory to the plastic bags used to conceal Brandy's dismembered body. Strands of hair, fibers, and fingerprints matched his profile, providing undeniable proof of his involvement. Investigators also uncovered chilling text messages between Cory and his associates, which painted a harrowing picture of his attempts to cover up the crime. Messages included discussions of disposal methods and thinly veiled threats to silence potential witnesses. Witnesses described Cory's behavior in the days following Brandy's disappearance as erratic. He avoided neighbors, stopped answering calls, and even sold personal belongings, moves that only raised investigators' suspicions. The walls were closing in on him. A search of Cory's residence unearthed more evidence. Detectives found traces of Brandy's blood in his bathroom and tools consistent with those used to dismember her body. A chilling discovery came in the form of receipts from a nearby hardware store, where Cory had purchased duct tape, plastic bags, and cleaning supplies. Just days before the murder, law enforcement set up an undercover sting operation. They meticulously gathered evidence from Cory's digital trail, the incriminating texts, his connection to the crime scene, and his suspicious behavior, before executing the operation with precision. When Cory Martin was arrested, the weight of the evidence against him was undeniable. As he was led into the precinct in handcuffs, his cold demeanor and lack of emotion made it clear that the man once trusted was behind one of the most gruesome murders in the community. Brandy's family, though devastated by the loss, felt a small sense of relief knowing the killer was in custody. But they still struggled to comprehend how someone so close to Brandy could commit such a heinous crime. In the courtroom, the prosecution presented a chilling portrait of Cory Martin as a calculated killer. His efforts to cover up the crime were met with damning evidence, testimonies, forensic reports, and digital evidence, none of which could exonerate him. Brandy's mother, fighting through tears, shared her grief in court. She didn't deserve this. Her words left an indelible mark on everyone in the room, especially as they resonated with the pain of losing a child in such a brutal manner. Cory's defense tried to paint him as a victim of circumstance, but their arguments fell flat. His lack of empathy and the overwhelming evidence against him exposed the truth. Cory Martin was a predator, seeing Brandy as nothing more than an object to exploit. As the trial unfolded, prosecutors revealed a disturbing detail. Cory had fraudulently obtained 2 life insurance policies in Brandy's name the year before her death. These policies, taken out under suspicious circumstances, painted a clear picture of a man who had planned her murder for financial gain. Prosecutors argued that Martin had watched crime shows including Dexter and The First 48 for tips on how to avoid detection. The cold-blooded nature of the crime, combined with the insurance fraud, made it clear that Cory Martin's motives went beyond mere control. They were rooted in greed. The prosecution rested its case, and the jury deliberated. After hours of careful consideration, the verdict was read: guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. The courtroom erupted in mixed emotions: relief for Brandy's family that justice had been served, but also deep sadness that her life had been cut so tragically short. Cory, however, showed no emotion as the verdict was delivered. He had already lost everything, but for Brandy's family there was a glimmer of justice, even if it couldn't bring her back. Brandy Odom's story serves as a tragic reminder of how trust can be manipulated and betrayed by those we believe would never harm us. A young woman full of dreams and potential had her life taken from her by a man who saw her only as a pawn in his twisted game. Though her story ended in violence, Brandy's memory lives on. Her family continues to speak out against manipulation and control, hoping to raise awareness about the red flags that often go unnoticed until it's too late. In Brooklyn, where Brandy's name was once whispered in sorrow, it has now become a symbol of strength, a call for justice in a world where trust can sometimes be deadly. The case of Brandy Odom, though resolved in the courts, serves as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind the most unsuspecting faces. It teaches us that beneath the smiles, charm, and promises, there can sometimes be a deadly predator waiting to strike. Brandy's life may have ended in violence, but her story will not be forgotten. Justice may have been served, but the pain of losing someone so full of life will linger long after the final gavel falls.